Hello everybody! My name is Kikrulin, but you may also know me as Dino from PC2, and welcome to Ero Pc F1, where we are once again going to be racing. Today's track is the famous Autodromo Jose Carlos in Brazil. Debuted in 1990, the race has been held every single year, except 2020 because of the unfortunate pandemic which is still around. It has created many great races, leaving this track high among many favorites for the drivers and spectators. Some of the most memorable moments are Kimi Raikkonen's only championship brought on this track in 2007, as well as Lewis Hamilton's first championship in 2008, which gave him the title of the youngest drivers' champion until Vettel came along in 2010. Jenson Button earning his and Braun GP's one and only championship, and the fantastic comeback from Vettel in 2012, which gave him the title from Alonso, and many more famous events made on this track, but we do not have the time nor patience to count all of them. The track is made out of 15 corners, 2 slow speed, 5 medium speed, and 8 fast speed corners. In sectors 1 and 3 are only 1 to 2 corners, and everything else is the straights. And in sector 2 is the technical part of the circuit, containing many 180-degree corners. So it's our drivers will have the massive dilemma if they want to run a high downforce or a low downforce setup, because they won't know that. They won't know what is most beneficial until they go into the race. We will go into a more in-depth analysis of the track once we go on board with someone on their flying lap. And we are just joining qualifying. Today we're gonna be having a short qualifying with 18 minutes, and after that we will go onto the race, which will have 36 laps. Rain is pretty common in Sao Paulo, as we saw yesterday in PC2, so it's not gonna be surprising if there is gonna be rain. Today commentating with me is Adam Lapidge. How are you doing today? What strategies do you think our drivers will be thinking about? And do you think that we might see another win from Drake Dempsey, who won in USA last week?
If everything goes to plan, I think we may definitely see Drake there or thereabouts. But we had 3 safety cars yesterday. We started slicks on a wet track.
Yeah,
I got binned into a wall. You know.
And I won.
Like so it could be a bit chaos. Obviously, we don't know the weather as spectators. It doesn't show us that. We don't get to know that, which is kind of annoying, really. I'd like a sort of weather-based pop-up. Like you get with the tyre strategies and things like that, as we've got about 2/3 of the grid all piling out for their outlaps now. George Power in the Haas is currently in front, so I think we'll ride on board with him for his flying lap and to the start-finish line. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. It's always a fun race around Brazil. It's definitely a track you can overtake on. You're not limited to where you can overtake. It's a bit tricky in Sector 2, but if someone makes a mistake, you could try throw it up the inside and hope they give you the space. Especially into sort of Turn 8 and into Bico de Pato in Turn 10. You can definitely make a move there. But I think a lot of the moves are going to be made into the Center Estes at Turn 1 and into Decidua de Lago at Turn 4. As George now just coming up this pit, not really a straight, sort of a straight, it's flat out anyway. Runs it wide through Acrobanciadas to get the best possible run into, here we go, Turn 1 and 2 with the Center S. That inside curve can be a little bit sketch, so you don't want to hit it too hard, and he's actually had a kick through Turn 2, so I think he's probably going to bail this lap. The minimum fuel on this track actually does give you enough time for 2 flying laps. So I think we'll ride with Jonathan, who's right behind him, just coming down the Retro Posta now into the Decidua de Lago. So it's a 16.6 for Sector 1, which is a pretty decent time. Manages to keep it in track limits through Decidua de Lago, which is probably the easiest place to invalidate your lap. And through Ferradura and Larginha, keeps it in 5th gear. I've seen people try that in 6th, so he might be running slightly lower downforce than most as he comes around Larginha, and then up the hill here into Bico de Pato. It's a really weird line you want to take through here. The traction on the exit's kind of tricky. He does well though, keeps it going exactly where he wants it to, through Magulio. And up here into Junsao, or as it's now, I think, officially been renamed, is that Glock corner. George slightly too far in front to give him a toe up the hill, but this is going to see where everyone stands. Pole yesterday was a 1 minute 6.8 from Owen Heijenham, so we'll see how these guys do. So it's a 7.5 to start with for Jonathan, which is a decent lap. The track's not rubbered in yet. Matej Jelinek behind was a 7.5 as well, so shows how tight I think it's going to be at the front. Oh, never mind. Irons decided not with a 7.2. And a 7.0 for Marek on a first lap. That's really good.
But we still don't know Drake's pace, as he is still in the pit lane, the winner from last week in USA, taking the win by how many seconds? Like 30, 40 seconds? It was a massive
gap. I think it was like 17, because I
17?
mean, he picked quite late, but then was about 4 seconds a lap faster than everyone because he had these running softs on.
Yeah.
And they were all sort of stretching out that one stop, but he managed to build a gap of probably about 17, 18 seconds, so had a gap to come in and pit, and was only just behind Iron in second place, so managed to stretch that gap out as Robbie's had a bit of a spin, but it's on his in lap, so it's not that big of a deal as long as he can go faster than his current 109.2. It's not going to affect his starting tyres or anything, and it's not going to affect his flying lap.
Ooh.
As we're having quite a lot of traffic in Sector 2, Marek's having to basically stop on track and dance around, get out of everyone's way. This is one of the problems with Brazil, so if you can get your lap sort of out of sync with everyone else, as long as you're on track for that final run where the track's rubbered in, it's actually quite good, because you're not risking getting held up in qualifying then. And there is some toes you can do down the back straight, as we did yesterday.
Yes, and we also don't see a lot of people going for mediums. It might be because the clouds in the air. I think rain might be coming in just a few moments, or the rain will be in the race. We do not know, as we do not have access to see that.
Could start in quali, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be particularly heavy. If it does, it doesn't look overly cloudy. It's more just sort of overcast, but they're not particularly dark, the clouds. It could be a case of starting with rain in the race. Could also be a case of the difference between the softs and the mediums is about a second. So if you imagine if Marek had done his lap on medium tyres instead, he'd currently be in 13th place between Quill and George. So it's a huge amount of time that you lose on a track where the times are expected to be so tight.
And Drake was on the outlap, but he went into the pit lane for some reason, as he retires from the session.
He did say he wanted time to eat dinner, so he's one of our American... It started to rain.
Oh, yeah.
You were right, the rain is spitting, so this is why everyone dived on softs.
Interesting.
So, these guys that are just coming out now, Jaden, Nathan, and Padraig, who haven't done a lap yet, Jaden and Nathan didn't even come out of the pits, I don't think. They're not going to get very far up the grid because it's just starting to spit. I mean, we had a wet start on slicks, but we were about 4 seconds down on where we'd normally be.
Even more, I think.
114s. Well, we were doing like 114s, whereas the race practice we'd done, we were like mid-110s. So, it was about 4 seconds-ish, a lap slower, and it was so difficult to drive the car. Like, to get any kind of power down. So I risked it on inters, which also didn't work, because it was never slow. It was never heavy enough for inters, but it was too wet for the slicks, really. But it was never wet enough for inters. It was a really weird point to be in. So hopefully it's not going to be like that today. And if it rains, it rains. And if it's dry, and it's not somewhere weird in the middle. But yeah, so I think that's going to be Drake starting at the back, which could be interesting. Just see where he gets to.
Before we go any longer in the qualifying session, I would just like to say to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, give me a second. I would like to thank our partners, Discord, JR Designs, Race Inside, Bolidomania, and Gridfinder, for helping us make this league come true. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and we also have Instagram, I believe. And if you want to race with us, if you do enjoy what you see right here, as we see Szewski in the Alfa Romeo actually crash in turn 13, where you crashed yesterday. But
mine wasn't really a crash, but yes. Yeah, that's Afe, as Mateus Gola gets a 5-second grid for penalty for illegal blocking. That's not good. It's going to drop him down to 9th, because I don't think anybody's going to be able to improve on their laps currently with the rain coming down.
I don't actually think he was blocking as he's on a flying lap, and the guy behind him, a Mercedes of Jelinek, is also on a flying lap. So I think the game just gave him a unfair penalty because both of these guys.
Possible Mateus had a problem. Yeah, I think he's possibly spun it maybe, and then sort of collected Mateus, which may be other Mateus. As he's lost it out of John Stow as well, just sort of crawling around seeing how the softs do, but there's absolutely no chance of anybody improving.
As
So I wonder
Gola
if
has
people are going to
crashed.
go out. Yeah, DRS is now disabled, so I wonder if people are going to go out on the inters just to get some practice in case the race is wet. Yeah, Davidos just coming through Bico de Pato. He was 8 tenths down in the first sector. He only has one braking zone. So it shows just how difficult it is to drive on the slick tyres at the moment. The game's decided it's inter conditions, which it never did yesterday. So it's as difficult as we found it. It's going to be even harder now to drive on these tyres.
As Mikkelsen from the other Ferrari retires from the session, he will probably start P6 as we might not see any more dry running.
Well, P5 after Mateus' penalty.
Yeah, but that is still unfair.
So Jonathan retires as well. So some of these guys have decided that that's it. They're qualifying over. They're not going to bother doing any inters. It's highly unlikely it's going to dry up enough. Even if it stops raining right now, it's unlikely it'll dry up enough by the end of the session in order for people to put in improved lap times. So this is probably going to set our grid. So I think we're probably going to have Marek and Tuka on the front row. So we've had 2 out of 2 Mercedes victories so far on PC this week, with you and Paolo Bellini in PC3. So maybe we'll get 3 out of 3 with Marek starting on pole.
Maybe.
Or maybe Tuka will build on his excellent second place that he got last week, with maybe going one better, maybe keeping that second place. Obviously, we're going to have Drake at the back coming through like someone set his ass on fire. So we've only got 5 guys that haven't retired at the moment.
I think
Quill's
they
going back out
probably
on
will.
track. Oh, sorry, Robbie's going back out on track on softs, which is a strange decision. I would understand somebody going out on intermediates just to get some practice in, but I don't really understand it on softs. Oh, he hasn't. Sorry, he was just coming in. It's Quill's Red Bull, I think, has just driven out of the pits. But he has retired from the session, so I'm not entirely sure what it's done now.
We still have 3 more who haven't yet retired. I don't know if they want to
Mateus
retire.
and Robbie. So I don't know if they're going to. I mean, I imagine they're going to, since everybody else has. That's kind of nothing to gain from sitting here. Although Jonathan says his game crashed, so let me just re-invite Jonathan. And if these those guys don't retire, we can get him back in the session. So he'll be around for race start. If I've got him somewhere.
But as you said before, this is a really good qualifying position for Znamierovski in the Mercedes, as last time in USA I think he finished 7th. I'm not quite sure about that. But yeah, the Mercedes guys qualified really good in USA, but lost a lot of time in the race. Their race pace wasn't as good as everyone else behind them, so we do hope to see them improving today, as the other Mercedes of Jelinek is currently P9, 1/10 off of Nieto, but as rain is starting to feel even heavier, or that's at least how I see it right now, I don't think that we will see any more dry running in these last 6.5 minutes.
No, it's highly unlikely.
But that begs the question, is the rain going to be dry or wet? Or might we get mixed conditions like we had yesterday in PC2, where we had dry tires on the rain? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. As Tuka Rachola retires, and the only one who hasn't retired is Gola, and he actually did really well today. He retired from USA and now is starting P9, unfortunate for the penalty. But that is qualifying over, as Znamierovski takes pole position with a 107.007, giving Mercedes, I think, their first pole in PC1. Tuka Rachola follows him right behind, and he finishes the second row of the grid. Next we have Foss, Gola, Bilbas, Mikkelsen, Dirksen, Niero, Jelinek and Strutzik rounding off the top 10 of the grid. If the race will be dry, they will have to start on those tires, and everyone else behind them will have an option to switch. But next we have Jurgil, Patrick, Pavlakovic, Parr, Sisevsky, Kinnable, Mills, Nathan, and I don't know who else. I didn't really
It's
get that.
Sunny. Yeah, Nathan, Jaden, Drake, I believe.
Yeah.
Jaden and Drake didn't set times. Nathan apparently was answering the call of nature, so missed the dry part of quali, which is why he's so far back, unfortunately. But it is currently sunny in pit lane for race start, so we'll have to see if the rain develops at some point later, which is entirely possible, or if it stays dry for the race.
I mean, I
believe it was
really
dry
see...
for PC1 last season, the whole race. And that was actually a really good race. There was a lot of fighting going on. There was a group of 6 or 7 guys at the front who were basically together the entire race.
And you got crashed by a Jacob, just like yesterday.
Yeah. Coming out of John Sao as well. It's that corner and Jacobs. We don't go well together.
As we are starting the formation lap.
Yeah. As Marek Zanamorovsky leads them away for the formation lap. Now, it's a short lap here, so the formation lap is not going to take too long. So these guys at the front, back to Jacob in P5, kind of need to slow up a bit because they're sort of abandoning everyone. Which is just going to chill their tyres out by the time they get to the end. But it's also possible that Drake might do a bit of a Lewis Hamilton here and just cruise around very slowly, as we've actually had 2 guys disqualified already with Nieto and Jelinek. Making contact under safety on the formation lap, so they're going to have freezing cold tyres on that run down to the center S's on lap 1, which is not ideal, and they'll be hoping that they don't murder the people in front of them, especially David Nieto, as he's got his teammate this week. One of our reserve drivers has his teammate Jacob Mikkelsen right in front of him, so he's going to want to make sure he picks his braking point right with those cold tyres. As these front 2 with Marek and Tuka are going to probably back it up a bit now, so they don't also have freezing tyres. Second on the grid actually has the inside line for center S's first lap, so we might see Tuka making a really good start, making a move down the inside into turn 1 and taking the lead of the race, possibly. He's not going to have to fight from the back this week anyway, so we'll see how he does actually starting nearer the front and not 17th or 18th place, wherever he was last week.
He might also take his first win in PC1. I don't remember if he won last season in Season 6, but if he manages to keep it clean...
he did 4 or 5 races at the end of Season 6 as sort of like a gift as PC2 champion. We let him reserve PC1 as well. And I think he took 2 podiums in those races, so he definitely already had the pace.
Definitely.
And he's demonstrated that so far this season.
As we are currently starting the Brazilian Grand Prix and we have 5 red lights. It is a long hold up as always, but we are underway and looks like Znamirovski got a really good start and he will keep P1, but Tuka is going on the inside and there was a slight contact, but just behind him we have the 2 AlphaTauri teammates battling side by side, and I think that Mikkelsen is wanting to get on that fight too, as Foss swerves a little bit and goes side by side with Mikkelsen, but defends the inside line, and Mikkelsen will have to stay behind. As Gola is P8, he got 1 position on Jurgil, so 1 spot more than P9 where he started. The Dirksen is also having a pretty good race, as he is going side by side with Gola in turn 5 and 6, but he has to stay behind and he cannot retake that position from Gola, as Gola is now P7, improving 2 positions already, our champion from Season 6 in PC1. But looks
we
like
had 2 guys round in the center S's at turn 1, which was Kamil Struzik in the McLaren and Quill Pavlakovic, reserve driver, in the Red Bull this week. But both seem to have no or minimal damage, so they're trying to get onto the back end of the field now. And Drake is doing his best impression of Lewis Hamilton, who's already up to 12th.
That's very impressive indeed, as I think we might see an overtake with Gola and Nieto, as Gola is wanting to go around the inside. Nieto is not defending, but he goes really early on the inside line, and Gola will have to stay behind, but Elwell makes an overtake on Patrick as they go side by side in the Senna SS, but Elwell has a better exit and takes P14 for himself, and I think that his teammate Kinnable, just right behind him, might also try to make an overtake as he goes round the inside. And we also have a spin from Parr and Jelinek. There was probably contact as Kinnable makes
George Parr round into Cedar de Lago. He actually got collected slightly. So we're going to have front wing damage on one of the guys at the back. I wasn't sure who it was that hit his stricken pass, but that drops him all the way to the back, as Camille has now caught onto the back of the train after his incident on lap 1, and Quill's just about 3 seconds back off the field, but he's one of the 3 guys that has started on medium tyres, along with Red Bull teammate Drake Dempsey and Matthias Yale in the McLaren. Matthias currently in P9, but there's starting to be a little bit of a gap forming in front of him. He needs to make sure that stays within a second, or he's going to be an absolute sitting duck to Nathan and Drake when the DRS opens this lap.
Znamirovsky is looking pretty comfortable in P1, but Tuka is closing in ever so slightly in the corners. Looks like Tuka might be running a pretty high downforce setup as DRS is enabled this lap, and it is given the advantage to Tuka. And Bilbas in P3 actually doesn't have DRS. He is 1.4 seconds behind, so he will have to battle with his teammate and Mikkelsen just behind him in these laps, as we have Nathan, Jurgil and Dempsey battling for 9th position, as Dempsey trying to go around the inside into turn 6, and he manages to do it, but he is still side by side with Jurgil in the McLaren and goes around the outside, and Jurgil actually spun.
Ooh.
But I don't think that's damage.
It was very minor contact, not enough to cause a spin. That was brave by Drake, but he kept it clean, gave space, and he's already up into the point on lap 3. As he's going to be looking now to hunt down Nathan Powers and Lucas Sturkson in front of him. He's going to have DRS, but also so are these guys in front of him, up to 6th place Matteo Scola, who's got that little gap in front of him, and actually both Ferraris making a move into turn 1. So we've got Foss and Mikkelsen side by side going through Curva del Sol. As Matteo Scola gets that first 3-second time penalty as he's trying to fight off Dave Nieto. And he's going to have the DRS on the run down into turn 4 to Decido del Lago. As Foss and Mikkelsen fight in front again.
Oh, and Foss spins!
Mikkelsen holds the place.
Nathan...
Oh, and Jonathan Foss has gone round.
Yes.
So there was contact on the exit of Decido del Lago. And the field's still so tightly bunched, that's going to drop him all the way down to 16th place.
And we have another crash. It is Zizevski in the Alfa Romeo who has touched, I think, Yellowneck and has crashed into the wall. He has no front wing. He will have to go into the pit lane. I think this is Yellowneck's second incident already, as he collided with Jurgil, I think.
Took very, very tiny contact earlier on, but it cost him a couple of places. I think he sort of got pushed off track, but that's a much bigger incident, obviously. But he's going to be right on the back of Robbie, there's a 3.5 second gap in front of Robbie Kennable up to his teammate Jade Elwell for the last points paying position. So this is going to leave Robbie exposed with no DRS here. Jelinek could be running low down for, might have stolen my setup. As Robbie sort of goes defensive, but far too late to actually hold off Jelinek as he gets that inside line through turn 1 and takes 11th place.
I think that Kennable got a pretty bad start, and now Strutzig in the McLaren wants to go around the outside, and we might have a 3 wide right here. Wide. And this is not gonna end well, but it ends well, actually.
Wow, that's brave and committed, and he pulled it off brilliantly. Campbell Strutzig in the McLaren goes around the outside of 2 guys on the run down to Decido del Lago, keeps it in track limits, makes sure there's space on the inside for both of them. And that's given him 2 places in a corner, and he's up to P11. And it's also put Stage Jelinek kind of in the clutches a little bit of Patrick Dougal, but we've got the recovering Jonathan Fox coming through, making a move into P14. So there's going to be this DRS train now all the way back from Camille, who there is still that 3.5 second gap in front of him up to Jaden Elwell in the last points paying position. So it might leave Camille a bit vulnerable, but I think he's just about broke the DRS back to Robbie, so he might be safe here. But Robbie's going to be under immense pressure from Matej Jelinek again into turn 1. As he goes defensive, and it was fair, I think. He didn't really leave space, but he didn't move too late. But Jelinek's gone round the outside through turn 2. And he's going to take that place, but he's taking it slightly too early, so now you've got Robbie and Jonathan behind him are both going to have the DRS.
And Kennable goes for a dives! And Jonathan Foss makes a double overtake.
And Jonathan Foss has got both of them.
And Jelinek trying to go on Rob again as he overtakes him. And as that battle was happening, Tuka Rakola has taken the lead in today's race at the moment, lap 6 of 36. Jesus
still Christ. In P9, sort of stuck behind Nathan Powers a little bit. That DRS train started to pay dividends. Matteo Scolo in P6 did manage to get into the DRS of David Nieto in the Ferrari, but he's just dropped out of it again. So he might be a little bit vulnerable, if not into turn 1, especially into turn 4. As the guys behind him are all going to have the DRS and they're going to close up significantly here. And yeah, Tuka leads at the front by 4/10 from Marek. We're already on lap 7. What the hell? Tuka leads from Marek at the front with about a half a second gap, and then there's 2 seconds back to Jacob Mikkelsen in third. So these two have built a big enough gap to be out of DRS, and they're basically having their own little fight, but it's not costing them too much time. They're not losing places to the guys behind them. So you've got the Ferrari of Jacob Mikkelsen, followed by the AlphaTauri of Arjen Bilbas, looking to build on his podium from last week, hoping he doesn't get penalties and to cost him a position, as happened at the end of the USA race. And then reserve Ferrari driver Dave Nieto, who was in the Red Bull last week, is sticking with these front guys. So he's having a really good race for a reserve. It was a bit disappointing for him last week in the bottom of the points. So he's going to be looking to improve on that position here. Maybe secure a full-time seat when one becomes available. As he's got a really good exit out of Junsao, and he's going to have a run at Iron on how much downforce he's running. Both these guys are going to have the DRS. But he's only 3 minutes back, running up the hill through Aquabancados. And he's not quite going to be close enough into the Center S, but if he can get a really good exit here through Turn 2, around Curva del Sol, he might be able to have a run down the Retroposta into the Cida del Lago. I think he's going to try it. I think he's going to dump some battery here and have a run at Iron.
And Bilbas goes defensive as
Nieto
will have to stay behind. As Drake Dempsey has overtaken Nathan Powers and is currently P7. He is trying to catch up to Mateusz Gola,
He's cleared Nathan and he's within a second of Mateusz in front.
Who has a penalty.
Yeah, he's within a second of Mateusz in front, but Mateusz is doing better than last week. He hasn't spun it yet, which sort of ruined his race last week. He's going to be looking to get off the mark with points. Try and defend his title from last year as well as he can. But there's some quick new guys in here, and he's to turn ABS off for this season as well, so that's going to hamper it slightly. And Drake's closed up a lot through Junsao. He's got a really good exit through there, and he's going to have a run at Mateusz. We're on lap 9, so those soft tyres are going to start to be falling off now, and the mediums I think are going to be slightly better at this point as Drake's down the inside into the Center S. Mateusz doesn't fight it too hard. He's going to look at a cutback, get a good run through Curva del Sol, and come back at Drake with DRS down into the Cida del Lago. Drake's deploying some battery, but both these guys are pretty low on charge. I think Mateusz might actually just be happy to sit there for now. Won't fight too hard, lose too much time. Hoping maybe Drake can drag him forwards towards this front 5. Because Drake is in harvest mode. He was down to just 6% battery on the exit into Faradura. So he's spent most of his battery pack to get past these guys. As the front 2 have now got a 3-second lead. Mikkelsen just can't hang with them. And that's going to possibly give them a gap to slot into when they have to pit. If they could go slightly longer than everyone else, they might not get held up in too much traffic. The only medium runner currently in their pit window is Drake. So if they can go an extra lap over compared to everybody else, they might be able to come out in clean air. And we know how good Tuka and Marek are at tyre management. And Marek's actually kept most of his battery. He's still up at 90%. He's still pulling a gap over Jacob Mikkelsen behind. As the 3 behind, Mikkelsen, Bilbas, and Nieto are all still together and fighting. And we've got Mateusz and Nathan Powers side by side through Curva del Sol as well.
And both of them have
DRS because of Drake in front. We'll see who's braver on the brakes. But Nathan's emptied his battery, which is going to give Mateusz a better entry into the Cida del Lago, and he's going to keep 7th place for now. Like I say, trying to stick with Drake, get dragged along a little bit by DRS, but he's very slow through Faradura. Oh, Nathan almost pushing him through the apex.
As they are actually keeping pretty close to Drake as well.
Yeah, it's also fairly clean. I think Drake's in a bit of harvest mode, so he's back up to 30% on his battery. So I don't think he's pushing overly hard. But if he gets a good exit out of here, he might break the DRS back to Mateusz, and he does. So I think Drake might be running more downfalls because he's getting a lot of time in that middle sector. As he's just about 2 seconds behind this second group of 3 with the 2 Ferraris and an Arjen Bilbas in the AlphaTauri. As Lucas Turkin's in. So the first guy to pit without damage, the first strategy guy to pit, is in at the start of lap 11. So he's going to put these mediums on. You can get these to the end from here. They're not going to be particularly friendly at the end, but maybe only a lap or two earlier than most people, so he's going to be looking at the undercut. Like I say, the soft tyres at 10 laps old are slower than sort of 10 lap old mediums, so brand new mediums, he is going to gain some time on the guys that haven't stopped yet. We'll be looking for that undercut as he comes out. 18th place just in front of the AlphaTauris, and there's a fight in front of him between Luke and Robbie.
As Rob makes a really big dive and there was contact, and Luke has to go off track, and
Luke
Rob Kinnable
just about survives.
And Kinnable also just survives as he had to catch that spin. And we had a similar battle with Powers and Gola. They touched at the same corner, and Powers nearly spun as he was trying to make a overtake around the inside.
Front two carry on, and Mark's going to take a move into the center S's. Mark takes the lead back. He's spent a little bit of that battery. He's down at about 85% now. So he's spending a little bit just to take the lead over Tuca. They were dropping a bit of time back to Jacob. Tuca now have the DRS down into Lago.
But he doesn't want to overtake him.
Use it. So he's happy to sit behind Mark for now. Maybe he wants to do a bit of harvesting himself. He's managed to get it back up to about 55% his battery. He was down to about 30% a couple of laps ago. So I think we're just going into a bit of a harvest phase here. To hold station. As they can actually see Shishevsky in front of them. So I think they're going to want to not really catch him, as they may lose some time. Maybe just grab the DRS off him. Because he's not going to be pitting for a while on the 5-lap old mediums. He might actually be trying to get us to the end. We did see Paolo Bellini take his medium tyres 30 laps for victory. As we've had Camel stationary through Cafe. I wonder if he's lost the car and reset to track, possibly.
I don't know.
I didn't see the whole thing. He was stationary through Cafe, so he has now dropped a lap down to the front few. Front six once straight gets him here, which Camel will be getting blue flags. So yeah, he lets straight go through turn 2. So the front six are now a lap up on Shishevsky, but he has made pit stops. So if he can just we've got a spinner. Drake's round.
It's Drake, but I don't.
Drake's round through Curva del Sol.
I don't know if he has damage. The camera.
The car looks alright, but that's going to cost him time, and it's going to overheat his tyres a little bit. So he's going to have to cool these down a little here through sector 2. This is where they like to overheat, so he's going to have to be a little bit gentle to not lose the car again. But it's dropped him back. He's now 2.5 seconds now behind Nathan. He was in front of Mateus and is basically 3 seconds behind him now. So lost him quite a lot of time, but he is still on that alternate strategy. So he's going to be very quick at the end on the softs.
Gola is having a really good race so far, as he retired in USA and qualified on the last row, I think, if I remember correctly. And now he is running P6, battling with Powers as Tuka overtakes Namirovsky. But this is the fight I want to see. Gola is defending the inside, but moves to the outside, and Nathan wants to stay behind him, as he maybe wants to save a little bit more ERS, as Adam has left. Okay. Let's see if Nathan maybe has an opportunity right here. Gola is not defending, and Nathan just goes around the inside without any problems so far. And we see Sizevsky just ahead of them, the back marker. He will get blue flags. He will have to let these drivers through. But Drake Dempsey is gaining a lot of time on these guys ahead because they are battling. They are losing way too much time. But you can just see in the corners, even though he has slower tires, he's just way too fast. Maybe he's running a high downforce setup, which is giving him the better advantage in the corners, or if he's just that confident on his throttle and his pace. As I think he might have an opportunity on Gola. He doesn't have a lot of ERS, he only has 9%, and he's already using all of it. So I think he will just have to stay behind a little bit longer, as Mikkelsen in the Ferrari actually pits. Let's see for what tires. He goes on mediums. These can definitely go until the end of the race very easily, as it is 21 laps until the end. As Drake Dempsey, I think, might have an opportunity here. He has 1% ERS. I don't know what he's doing, but he's just wasting all of it. As Gola has to go off track a little bit. He got a really bad line. And Gola defending the inside line, And he gets a really bad line as Drake Dempsey goes around the inside, making a dive bomb. And Gola trying to combat it, as he has the inside line, but Drake Dempsey goes around the outside, takes P6. Now he has Nathan Powers just ahead of him. Let's see how easily he can overtake him. This is a battle for P5, so Drake Dempsey going from P20 to P5, very, very impressive indeed. As Jurgil and Mikkelsen and Foss are battling for P9, but let's first see this battle as Znamirovski and Bilbas go into the pit lane. And Nathan Powers goes in as well. And we still have no retirement so far, which I'm really surprised by. Yesterday in PC2 we had like 9 retirements, and in PC3 I think there were around 6 or something like that. As we see a battle with
yesterday we had 4 in the first 4 laps yesterday, but I think a lot of that was down to the weather. We actually had one guy lose it through Curva del Sol under safety car.
You scared me so much.
Were so
Jesus
difficult.
Christ. You scared me so much.
Yeah, apologies, my game crashed. The whole thing just froze, so I had to task manager it. But if Znamirovski's pit, if I don't know if Tuka has, as I can't currently see the game, but I would imagine Tuka to come in the lap after to minimise that that undercut that Mark's going to get.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Nathan Powers goes around the inside of Dirksen and is a really good move, and Gola actually overtakes him as well around the inside. I think we might see a 4-way battle on the start-finish straight as Tuka goes into the pit lane.
In.
He let's see if Znamirovski's undercut worked, as we have a battle.
I think
with
he's going to get him, but I don't know what the gap's going to be. It's not going to be huge.
I don't know, but Pavlakovic and Powers battling for P9 goes around the outside, and Gola actually overtakes both of them around the inside, and Znamirovski actually retains P1 after everyone pits. And Bilbas actually crashed. Now Gola will get 3 positions in just 4 corners as he overtook everyone, but he stays behind as Powers now wants that position. But Gola has nothing to fight with, and Powers does make the move stick, but Gola is taking none of it. He wants to go around the inside into turn 6, and they're going side by side. He has to cut the track a little bit and makes a dive bump into turn 7. These drivers keeping it very clean at the moment, but Gola goes very deep into turn 8 and has to stay behind Powers. But looks like he is I think having a low down for setup, so maybe in the next start-finish straight, maybe he will have an opportunity, as Nieto in the Ferrari goes into the pit lane, probably for mediums, and that should be almost every soft runner in the pit lane.
But I think he's pushed these softs a little too far. I think he's going to be very vulnerable to the undercut, and he's going to lose a couple of places here. So Jurgiel has managed to jump him. But because of Bilbas's problem, he might actually jump Bilbas. Yeah, he's going to get out in front of this fight between Bilbas, Powers, and Gola. So he's going to have the slightly fresher tyres. Jurgiel hasn't pit yet, so he's on the mediums he started on. So he's going to have slightly fresher tyres than the guys in front. He can gain that 5 seconds back up to his teammate, who's currently running P4. Tuka's now right on the back of Marek again, so Marek managed to undercut by about a second. When Tuka came out of the pits. And there was about a second between Tuka and Jacob as well, but Tuka's managed to close in half a second on Marek and pull away 7/10 from Jacob. So he's going to be looking at a move here, probably. Sooner rather than later, as Drake Dempsey does lead, but hasn't stopped yet. He's currently 8 seconds in front. He's pitting now. He's going for 18 laps on softs? That's ambitious, if there's no safety car.
We are currently...
Yeah, he's putting softs on. So I think he's going to try. So he's going to try and get these to the end, but that's a little bit ambitious. Let's see where it puts him. He's going to be very quick on those tires. I think it's going to put him behind David Nieto, but he might get out in front of this fight with Golas, Bilbas, and Powers as they're all going into the center S's together. This might end in tears. As Gola manages to keep 7th place for now, but these two behind are going to have the DRS down into Decidio del Lago.
They are battling...
Yeah, Drake does get out in front of them. There's just nowhere to go for Nathan, but Iron Bilbas does manage to make that move and takes P7 away from Mateus Gola. Gola's in harvest mode with his battery, whereas the other two both have about 25%. So we'll have to see what sort of times Drake can pull. He's got 1.4 seconds of a gap up to his teammate from last week, actually, David Nieto. So he's going to be hoping to close that up in this middle sector, get DRS down the pit straight. Yeah, and he's already closed to within a second. So I think he definitely is running more downforce. The soft tires are definitely quick, but he just gained half a second in 2 corners.
I think if Drake does not spin like he did in just a few laps before, he might take a pretty easy win, as he is only around 8 seconds behind the leaders of Tuka and Znamierovski, as he is looking to go for a move on Nieto in the Ferrari, and he gets a very
Such a good drive through Curva del Sol.
Yeah.
But even with DRS, he didn't have the top end speed to really make a move into the center S's, but he's going to get the move done here down the Ero Pc, and he'll take 5th place into the City del Lago, as we've got a fight behind again, as now Mateus Golo is taking Bilbas with P7. Well, they're just swapping DRS here while Nathan's behind and observes. He is not really able to get involved as they keep going too wide into the corners where you really can't go 3 wide. Which is unfortunate for him. And we've currently got Kamil Struzik, currently, after his spin on lap 1, currently in the final points paying position. Hoping these guys in front keep fighting so we can get on the back. A 4 or 5-way fight as Lucas Dirkson's right behind him. 4P7, which could be quite entertaining. As Drake's already caught up to the back of Matej Jurgiel with those brand new soft tyres. Jurgiel on the mediums that he started the race on, so imagine expect to see him in within a lap or 2 to get the most out of the soft tyres. As Drake's gonna make a move in turn 1. And easy does it with the DRS. That is going to give Jurgiel a possible run back into just the Lago. But Drake gets such a good drive through turn 2 with those soft tyres. He's already 7 tenths in front of Jurgiel. And the gap to the leaders now down to 6 seconds. He's taken 2 seconds leaders on that lap. As Tuka's right up behind Marek. There's just 3 tenths between them. So these two are fighting possibly for the lead, depending on if they can hold Drake off. Because he is coming, and he's coming at speed. So they're going to hope that Jacob can hold him up a little in P3. And these two are going to have to not lose time, but obviously they're going to want to fight. Tuka's going to want to take this win on track. So they need to be sensible about it. No going side by side through Sector 2, because that's just going to cost them both a lot of time. Tuka's dropped back to about 8 tenths back though. He's lost some time through the back end of Sector 2, through Magulio and Junsao specifically. But he's going to close back up under DRS, and then possibly have a run down into the City del Lago if he can get a good exit out of the center S's and through Curva del Sol. Takes a good line through turn 1 and gets on the power very early in turn 2. And he is closing in a little. And the DRS is going to help with that, but I don't think he's going to be close enough 6 tenths back unless he's running a very low down setup. No, unfortunately not. Drake's now just over 2 seconds behind Jacob, so he's going to want to take another second out of him this lap, possibly get DRS by the end of it. He can just take such tighter lines with those new tyres. The softs are probably about a second a lap quicker than the mediums around here. As everybody except 2 guys now pits, just Jurgiel and Pavlakovic still out on their starting tyres. I'd expect them both to be in this lap. I think 40 laps on the softs is perfectly fine and allows you to get the most out of them. If you pit too late, you're just going to lose so much time on mediums that you're not really going to be able to advance up the field as much as you want to.
I think that Zna Mirovski and Tuka's only advantage from Drake Dempsey is ERS, as Dempsey has only 12%, now 5%, and Tuka and Znamirovski both have around 60 to 80%. So in the corners they might lose a lot of time, but at least on the straights they will have something to fight with. So if
Jurgiel's in.
If they can keep him behind in the corners, they can definitely keep him behind on the straights, but that might prove difficult with DRS.
Yeah, Jurgiel's in, shot down to P14, but he's going to be on that strategy as Drake. He's going to be on those new soft tyres. He's going to be looking to see how much time he can make up. As he comes out of the pits, he's going to be just between Jonathan Foss and Mateusz Jelinek. So he's going to be hoping to push forwards. He needs to make up 3 places once Quill pits in order to get in the points. So that's going to be his target, as Drake is now just 2.2 seconds behind the leader. This front 4 is all closing up together. Front 2 are losing time to Jacob behind. And Drake's coming with Jacob. So there's now just a half-second gap between Jacob and Drake. And Jacob's not quite in the DRS range. He's about 0.2 of a second out of it. She's going to leave him vulnerable into turn 1. Drake sweeps around the outside, the center S. And Jacob tucks back into the slipstream as Drake's already got the move done before the braking zone. But he's just outside the DRS as they come through turn 2. So Jacob's going to be able to stick to the back of him. But Drake can see his target. You can see the 2 in front of him. Just 0.3 separating these front 2. There's a second back to Drake, and then just another 0.3 to Jacob. So these front 4 are all coming together, and there's only 3 spots on the podium, so somebody's going to miss out, and it might be Jacob with that 3-second penalty. As long as nobody completely bins it.
I guess
there's a 7-second gap back now to P4 to David Nieto. And just as a show of how nuts those soft tyres are, the fastest lap anybody else has put in is a 109.4, which is, we've got 4 drivers on 109.4s. Drake's done a 108.1. So soft tyre is pretty good.
I think we might.
But he might have some issues with tyre at the end of the race. He's trying to do 18 laps on those things, which they can sort of do, but they don't really like it very much. It's because he's going for a move right outside of turn 1. He takes the lead, but this is just fighting like this. He's just going to put Drake right on them. He's right on the back of Marek. He's basically pushing him through Curva del Sol.
But Znamierovski, like I said, he has ERS.
ERS and DRS here. So he's going to be able to defend from Drake, probably.
And he's trying to go around the inside of Tuka, and...
side-by-side through the City del Lago.
He overtakes him, but Tuka is still trying to fight for it as they go side-by-side into turn 6. And Znamierovski goes around the outside, doesn't leave too much space for Tuka, but they are
side-by-side through Ferradura.
And Tuka wanted to go around the inside, but I think that's the position for Znamierovski, as Drake is trying to go around the inside of Tuka right now, and makes it stick! A very, very good overtake. And now he is right on Znamierovski.
That was good.
As we have a
and
crash
we've got a spinner.
behind.
It's a McLaren. It's Kamil Strusik. I'm not sure if he's had contact with someone, but it's dropped him back down to P10. So he's still in the points for now, as these front 4 are now all within the DRS of each other. So Marek's going to be very exposed into turn 1. He might enter the center S's in 3rd place here. As Drake and Tuka into the slipstream, Drake pulls out. Marek fights it though. Marek's not going to give that place up without a fight, but Drake's just going to have so much more traction in grip. Gets around the outside into turn 1. This is going to open Marek up possibly to Tuka behind.
But he has even more ERS and goes.
But they're both going to have a go at Drake. Marek's going to have a go back, and he's going to take the lead. We've seen this before.
But the Dempsey
Mercedes and Red Bull going into the Cita del Lago.
But the Dempsey gets a really good exit out of turn 4. Tries to go around the outside. He has better tires, and let's see if he makes it stick. He's still around the outside as Znamierovski doesn't leave him enough space.
Marek.
And there was a little bit of a contact, but that was really
very
good.
minor. Very minor contact. I think that was all fair and above board. It's not really. Connor, you really trust the other guy to not just put you into a wall or lose the car. As we've had another spinner at the back, and it's Jonathan Voss, who's unfortunately lost the car through the Cita del Lago. As Drake's now going to try and come down the side of Marek, sorry, and he's going to have the DRS, so he's going to make that move into the center S as Marek's going to be exposed here. You can see just how much downforce Drake's running, as he's even with DRS, he doesn't really gain too much down that straight. It's going to leave him exposed again to Marek down into the City del Lago. I think Tuka's just observing this, watching Mercedes and Red Bull going together into the City del Lago. That could end in tears. I think Drake might just have had a big enough lead. Yeah, he's going to be able to stay ahead of Marek. And he's going to want to use those soft tyres now to pull away. As Tuka's still sat there, just watching Marek, waiting for him to make a mistake. Maybe he's going to throw it down the inside here into turn 8? No, he's not that brave. Or stupid, whichever way you want to put it.
And Mikkelsen is now trying to enter this fight as well, as Znamierovski is still in the DRS range, but now he is outside. So I think that Drake, if he keeps it clean, he will win today's race, but we still have a really big battle for the final 2 spots of the podium. Mikkelsen is at a really big disadvantage as he has a penalty of 3 seconds, but Znamierovski and Tuka are still battling for 3 more points that will be added to their name if they finish 2nd or 3rd, as Tuka goes around the outside just before the Senna S's but Znamirovsky will now have DRS, and he might...
Yeah, but so is Tuka.
Oh, Tuka has
DRS
DRS.
down that straight, got him in range of Drake. So he's going to have DRS to defend into the City de Lago. And he built a 4/10 gap over Marek through the center S, so that's going to give him that place. Let's see if he can stick with Drake. He's just 7/10 back. DRS is super powerful here. Now just 6/10 back from Drake, so I think Tuka's probably got the best chance of living with him, although neither of them have any battery right now, which might leave them a little bit exposed to Marek. If Tuka can stick in Drake's DRS, it might just drag all four of them back up together. Drake's going to start suffering with those tyres come the end of the race. Trying to do 18 laps on them it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Mateus Gola and
slightly out of DRS. He's going to need a good exit here through Junsao. It's not quite good enough. But I think he's broke the DRS over Marek in just a lap. Yeah, Marek doesn't have that rear wing open. That might leave him a bit open to Jacob behind. If he can't, but he's closing up down the straight just with Slipstream. He's gained about 3/10 on Tuka just with Slipstream down the straight. So he's going to have DRS down into the City de Lago. Even if he didn't get it up into turn 1 to the center S's. So it's going to close them all back up a little bit. Tuka needs to try and live with Drake. The gap's up to 1.3. As we've got a fight behind with Mateus Gola, Ian Bilbas, and still Nathan Powers sits there and just watches. These three have been together all race. Nathan's trying to keep out of trouble, I think, as much as anything else. He didn't get any points last week, so he's going to be hoping to get some here and make a start on his possible fight for the championship and see what he can do for Alpine as Luke adapts to his new wheel. We need to talk about Luke. He's doing a lot better this week. He hasn't been lapped. He's not running last. He's doing all right. He's doing all right.
Bilbas has a problem with fuel. I think he doesn't have a lot of fuel remaining in his car, so he might.
Yeah, he's right on the limit. The light keeps blinking on and off, so he's right on the limit of 0 fuel. So if he can do one lap on what the game reckons is 1 lap of fuel, he'll be fine till the end. But as we discovered, that's not the easiest thing in the world because the game lies. He cuts across Aquabancadas.
And goes around
but
the
he's
inside
going to make a
Gola
move on Mateus into turn 1.
and makes it stick. But Gola will now have DRS on the second straight, and Bilbas, I don't think he has anything to fight with.
I think Drake's starting to suffer with those tyres because Tuka's up within half a second.
As Gola overtakes Bilbas, but you are correct. And the other has
spinner of George Parr, the other Haas, yeah.
But you are correct, Drake Dempsey losing a lot of time on these guys just behind him.
I wonder if he made a mistake, or if he's just gone into the harvest phase again. But both guys are at around 35% battery, and Drake's not going to get the DRS because he overtook the lapped car of Robbie before the line, so he's not going to have DRS. But Tuka and Marek and Jacob behind all are going to have that rear wing. So Drake's not really building that gap, although he built a bit through Sector 2, got it back up to 0.8, but he's still giving 2 that DRS advantage. And these tyres are just going to get worse and worse, whereas the mediums from Tuka, Marek and Jacob behind should be totally fine to the end.
And
13, 14 and 15 laps that they've got on them, they'll be totally fine. We saw Paolo Bellini do 30 laps on Friday, which is a lot, which is more than I would want to do. I think my hard limit would probably be 23 or 4, which is more than these guys are going to have by the end of the race. But Drake trying to do 18 laps on these soft tyres, that's a lot for the softs. As we've got another spinner, which is
Luke Mills.
Not sure. Is that Robbie?
It's Mills.
Luke. It's Luke, unfortunately. So now he has been lapped.
Jinx. Oh, and Tuka crashes.
Oh.
He spins.
No. Well, that gives Drake now a 2.5 second lead at the front.
And Mikkelsen is trying to go around Znamirovsky.
Mikkelsen and Znamirovsky side by side.
But he just
Znamirovsky got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I wonder if that was Tuka. But Jacob didn't get one. So that's weird.
Power has retired from the session. Our first and only retirement. That's very interesting. But this is giving Drake Dempsey a really, really big advantage, as he was at the risk range from Znamierovski and Tuka, but now I think he's just in the clear air as both Znamierovski and Mikkelsen have penalties. So he can just cruise away.
But these two guys, they were 2.5 seconds behind coming up the hill out of Junts out, and then now Marek's now just 2.2 back. He gained probably about half a second with having DRS from the Williams just currently getting lapped. So I don't think it's over and done yet. These tyres on Drake's car are not going to be feeling very good, and he might be losing too, which is where he was strongest. He's running at high downforce setup, so he's losing time down the straights anyway. As we've got a fight behind going through to see the Delago, and Jelinek had to go off the track, avoiding Lucas Turkson. Zoran Voss has managed to wake his way back up into 12th place, so he's going to be looking at the points, but there's about a 12-second gap up to Kamil Struzik in the second of the McLaren's, currently in 10th, currently getting that last points-paying position. So I think points-wise, unless somebody has a major issue, we might be set. Because we're probably a bit too late for a safety car at this point to spice up a last lap. Well, that would be fun. Can we have one of them?
We have a fight behind with Bilbas and Gola. Gola nearly lost the car in the Senna S's and lost a lot of time to Bilbas behind, but is just ahead. And Powers is still staying behind and watching this battle unfold. So he's
got the popcorn out in the car. That's what it is.
Gola has 6 seconds, Bilbas 3, and Powers 3.
Yeah, actually, Jacob Mikkelsen's fuel light's on as well. So he'd be struggling to get to any kind of racing pace, depending on just how bad that is. Along with Bilbas also has his fuel light on, and Matej Jurgiel. So those three guys in the points all have their fuel lights on, along with Padraig Dougal, who's taking those hard tyres a long way. He's done 25 laps on them, so he's going to be getting those to the end.
We have a battle
and
for
we got to
second
swap
place.
At the front again, so Mikkelsen takes P2, but Znamierovski's going to have the DRS now. And this fighting is letting Drake stretch that lead out, so it's now 3 seconds.
Let's see if he
in his
can do it.
last to first challenge. So it's just whether those tyres go to the end without losing too much. They tend to drop off a cliff a bit at Brazil, because there's so much wear and heat going through the front left, especially as you go through Ferradura and Larahina. Really do wear out that front left, and then you lose the grip in Bico de Pato in the slow left-hander that Drake's just coming up to now, and it's not the friendliest thing to try and drive. The car seems under control for now.
There was contact.
2 laps left to go.
There was contact between Powers and Gola. Powers was trying to go around the inside into turn 6, but I don't really know what happened. And there was contact on the rear tire of Gola, and Nathan was sideways. He is P9.
Yeah, Nathan was off track, had to recover, so he's lost the place to Jurgiel. And Matej Gola has lost the place to Bilbas as well. So Bilbas currently running P6. And Devin Yeto's had an extremely quiet race. Basically nobody's been near him since the pit stops, but he's still running P5. About 9 seconds off the back of this, of Tuka, which is about where he was after the pit stops. He has kept pace with Tuka, which is pretty good. But he's had a pretty quiet race, but I mean P5 is good points. Filling in for Ferrari, as his teammate Mikkelsen currently running P2. He does have a 3-second penalty, but Marek behind has a 5-second penalty, so well, Tuka can gain up about 1.5 seconds. He's not going to jump both of them, although he should jump Znamierovski and take a podium position on penalties. Although that 5-second penalty from Znamierovski could get removed if it was a case of someone spinning and him getting pinged for a yellow flag. That will get removed, as Foss and Jelinek at the back of pit. So they're going to go for that fastest lap. They're going to try and steal that point off of Drake. They've got a 108.1 to beat, so they're going to have 1 lap to do it. As Quill drives past into P13 in that Red Bull, so they're going to stay on the lead lap. They're not going to lose the lead lap to Drake. As
Znamierovski trying to go around the inside.
Jonathan Voss comes out just in front of Patrick, so he's not going to get held up on his lap either. But Jelinek might do.
We are on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and Znamierovski goes around the outside of Mikkelsen, but Mikkelsen now has the DRS and is trying to go around the inside, and Znamierovski doesn't leave enough room, and they do touch a little bit, but yeah, thankfully everything is okay. But
a lot of side-by-side in City del Lago, which is not the comfiest place to do that.
Robbie gets a 3-second time penalty, and we are just a few corners away before Drake gets the win as he drove a magnificent race from last to first.
He's done very well to keep hold of those tyres without losing too much time. I mean, he's coming through Sector 2. Ooh, he gets a big kick out of John Zhao. But coming through Sector 2, he's about a second down on his current fastest lap as we've had another spinner behind.
Mikkelsen is out of fuel.
Oh!
And Tuka will get P3.
We knew that was a problem. Tuka does take P3 on the road, but he's within that 5 seconds of Marek, so he's going to take P2, dependent on stewards.
And Drake wins.
Drake wins. Tuka takes another P2. This is dependent on the stewards. I'm not sure exactly what that 5-second penalty that Marek got was. Marek takes P3 with Jacob P4. He limps home on no fuel to finish 4 tenths ahead of his teammate.
And Bilbas is also out of fuel. He is P6.
Yeah. Bilbas gets Gola on penalties. And Nathan Powers will take P8, followed by Strusik, and then Mateusz Jurgiel, who's also out of fuel and limping to the line.
But
still takes P9 by 15,000 to gets his teammate on penalties. Jesus. LOL takes P11 with P12. Pavlakovic comes over the line now in P13. Jonathan Foss is currently 1.3 up on his fastest lap, going for that attempt on those brand new tyres, but he's burnt out his battery. And he takes it with a 7.9. And Jelinek also does a 7.9, but it's slower. A 9.25 and a 9.97. So Jonathan Foss will get that point for the lap. Remember, in Ero, you don't have to be in the top 10. It's wherever you finish.
And Drake Dempsey, of course,
Drake gets driving. He lost to first. The 4 guys ran out of fuel at the end. Oof.
The only one who could do a last to first challenge is Drake. That was an
Drake
impressive
says his times were only around 10% at the end. That's illegal tyre wear right there. Can we pull that car apart and just inspect it? I feel like there's definitely something going wrong with that. Well, that was interesting.
But yeah,
I think it's such a shame that Tuka had that issue because he seemed like the only person that could really fight Drake.
But
he was closing in on him a lot and just couldn't get there. Just made a mistake and couldn't quite close up on him. But he does take P2 on penalty, so we'll have to see what Marek's penalty was for in terms of that 5 seconds. Because it's ignoring yellow flags, but sometimes you can ignore yellow flags when someone's spun, and it's the guy that spins that you overtake. Which is fine, obviously, because he's off the track. So the fact that he got pinged for that, I think it depends on who it was he overtook under yellow flags. So Drake wins, so that's 2 for 2 for Red Bull, but he doesn't get maximum points this time, just 25, not 27. Duke Cola takes a second place, with Marek Zanamorovsky getting Mercedes' first podium of the year in P3, with the Ferraris 4th and 5th. Oof.
Oh, really,
so that's
really good race.
Constructors' points for Ferrari, at least. Gonna move them up slightly in the standings.
And this is, ladies and gentlemen, why spectators love Brazil. So many battles ahead and behind. A 4-way battle for the lead, and Gola, Bilbas, and Powers fighting for 20 laps for only P6. So yeah, that was the Brazilian Grand Prix. I hope that you have enjoyed as well as we both did. That was very, very interesting indeed. Before we round off today's stream, I would just like to say to leave a like on today's commentary, subscribe to Ero's Racing channel. Also, thank you from our partners, Gridfinder, Bolidomania, Race Inside, Discord, and JR Designs. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you enjoyed what you watched today, today's race, you can also join alongside us, and you can race with us. There is a link in the description for our Discord, where you will get all the information about how to join and how to race as a reserve. We have 5 PS tiers and 3 PC tiers, so you can join to both PC or PS, or you can just join on one console. But just join on one. I do not recommend both. So yeah. Do you have any last words before we round the stream up?
Welcome to Brazil, I guess. It was slightly less chaotic than yesterday, but it was a really good race. Like a lot of clean moves, a lot of clean side by side through Sector 2, which is risky at the best of times. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Let's hope it's the same next week in China.
We had like Gola and Bilbaz going for 2 laps side by side the entire laps. So the entire 2 laps they were side by side in every single sector. It was incredible to watch. And yeah, I do also hope that we have such a race in China. But I don't know if that will happen. China is pretty common with rain. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But this has been the Brazilian Grand Prix from Ero Pc F1. I hope that you have enjoyed today's commentary and the race. And this was Adam Lapidge and Dino Puskadija, and I will see you, or we will see you, next Saturday. I mean Sunday for China.
We'll see you next. We'll see you next Saturday, but that will mostly be us getting put in walls. Whereas we'll see you next Sunday to watch other people do it. Woo!
Yeah, see you next time.